The advice I would give to any lettings agent in today's market is to consider the relationship that they have not only with their landlord, but as importantly with their tenant. I'm in Crampton, the sales director of Ferndown Estates. We opened our doors here in Marston Green, which is close to Birmingham International Airport, in 2003. We're a family-owned business. Myself and my father set the business up. We are a lettings agent and an estate agent. We currently employ 11 staff and we have 385 properties under current management. In any business, you're only as good as when you're dealing with people in being able to fulfil what they need. We've got a very good reputation, and the amount of people that we get referred to has proved that the adage that if you treat people fairly, they will always come back and consider you in the future. I say to my staff all the time, we're not here, it's not a quick fix, it's not a quick sale, it's the right thing for that client. That's what I'm passionate about, treating customers that we get a good reputation. I remember going out and doing a viewing with a guy who was a brand new landlord, never met him before, went out to view a property with him, and I said, for the money you could buy yourself a better property than what you're in now. And he went, well, you're selling this? I went, I know, but as a landlord I wouldn't buy this. This is not the right property to get you the best rent. We've got other properties that would be probably better for you. He didn't actually buy a property from us, but he bought a property from another agent and then brought it back to me because I gave him that information. That was only a few weeks ago. And now he's bought 2 other properties, which have been from us. He trusts me enough that he'll put the offers on my sort of advice, if you like. I think most agents, they're employees who are target driven and told, go and get 10 instructions. Why would you want to force somebody to go out their comfort zone and to not look after the interests of that person because they've got a target, and if I don't get this target, I don't care what's best for you. And that's the problem with the industry since regulation began. How much commission can I earn? And we've all got to earn money, but equally the best will in the world, if you do somebody a disservice, how likely are they ever going to use you, and how many times are they going to tell people not to use you? So play the long game and give people the right advice and look after them, and you'll get that back, hopefully 3-4-fold. I think many lettings agents have only got themselves to blame for the reputation that they have got from the consumers. How many lettings agents still charge fees and onerous fees to tenants? And to me, it's a scare tactic that will put off a lot of tenants from going and taking those properties on just because of the fees that are being charged. We as a company have decided to remove charging fees to tenants, and the reason for doing that was in light of the regulation that will come into effect. We felt that by making that jump earlier was going to attract us a larger share of the current tenants who are looking for properties in the area. By getting that larger share of tenants, it means that we've got a larger pool to choose from, and we can demonstrate to our landlords with the interested parties and the numbers of viewings that we are doing that we are choosing the best of the best. Removing those tenant fees and making a point of demonstrating to landlords the reasons for doing that. We charge the landlord for the job what the landlord asks of us. That is important. It's very transparent. We're explaining to the landlord the reasons why we're charging them the fee that we do. It's a management service. So by attracting the right sort of tenants into the property, making sure we get the right sort of tenants in the property makes the job easier for everybody. The landlord doesn't have the same stresses that they may get from other agents. So for us, it was a very simple process of having that conversation with a landlord about making sure that they understand that we are getting them the very best tenants in the property. 9 out of 10 landlords tend to try and look after their own properties. That's the stats that we can see. As legislation continues and strengthens, and landlords will have a choice, they either sell or they look for alternative contacts in order to maintain their portfolio or their properties. So as regulation tightens, I think there's an opportunity for lettings companies to make contact with a lot of these landlords who will either be considering selling or continue renting the property using the management service of legitimate lettings companies. The marketplace has changed because of the introduction of online estate agents and other agents offering management services for perceived lower fees, so it's a competitive market. Going forward, I think the changes will be the introduction of regulation, but I do foresee that those lettings agents who can diversify and maintain the course and offer that good value for money will end up ultimately in a better position come 4 or 5 years down the line than many may expect. Lettings agents have got to become more proactive, demonstrate their professionalism, demonstrate that they are there for the benefit of the tenant. At the end of the day, it's not just about making sure that landlords are happy, because tenants will soon be able to vote with their feet. With the changes of legislation and tenants not being charged fees in the future, you will not be able to retain the same tenants in previous years that you have done by putting them off moving because of the high fees that are being charged. So you will certainly see a significant shift in the lettings market. We've seen it. We have got such an influx in new tenants. When we made the changes to charging lettings fees back in October 2017, in the year before we'd had 95 tenant changes, so new tenancies that came into effect. In the 6 months after the October change with removing tenant fees, we had 85 new tenancies come into effect who have moved to us, who have felt trapped in previous properties where they've been before because of the fees that have been charged by other agents. So I think it's a wake-up call for landlords and agents that this change in legislation will have a significant impact on the lettings market going forward. We actually go out and visit the tenant in the property that they're currently at, and that is something that I don't think too many people actually do, but it's important. It plays an important role for us because we're in their environment when they're more relaxed. They're telling us a little bit about their expectations and what their hopes are with the property they're looking at for us. We can build a better profile of them out in their environment to go back and speak to the landlord about their particular situation, because tenants come in all shapes and sizes, so it's important for us that we get the whole picture. When we go back, we can go to the landlord and say, look, we've got a really good tenant, we've been able to demonstrate, we've been gone to their property, we found out as much about them as we can, so we can give that story to the landlord. When that tenant comes into our property, they've had that communication with us and that relationship with us from a very early start. When they're moved into the property, we go and do a visit after 2 weeks to make sure they're fully settled in if there's any concerns that they've got. And then every 6 months, we're generally visiting the property to make sure that the property is absolutely fine. We're photographing the property, and that gives the landlord and the tenant, and they both get copied into that. That gives them a timeline of how the property is being maintained. You know, if they get an email through saying I want to rent your property and I've got a dog, most landlords would just automatically go, oh no, not interested. If you've got a dog or a cat or a pet, part of the family, and that landlord says, yeah, you can stay here, you're more likely to stay there, aren't you, long term? We're at a very fortunate position that we have for what is one office. We have a lot of properties that we look after. We've got a successful estate agency. I don't need to deal with landlords that I don't need in my business. There's just no point for me in exhausting my time dealing with somebody who doesn't have the same thought process or the same mindset when it comes to renting properties and what they should be doing as a landlord for our tenants. Well, property and software is the be-all and end-all when it comes to processing tenancies, and something that we were actively trying to improve upon. And then we came across the good people of Goodlord. That technology has drastically improved our pre to post tenancy timeframes. Our staff are less stressed. The interaction with tenants, particularly with regards to the technology, that the platform that it is on, has greatly enhanced our lettings business and streamlined our business hugely. So it means that we can then spend more time on the things that are actually more important to us by meeting tenants and meeting landlords and getting more properties into our business. Any lettings agent, or any business for that matter, that doesn't embrace technology, particularly with the legislation as it moves forward, with margins a little bit tighter, is going to struggle. So any forward-thinking agent has got to embrace technology, got to embrace the property technology that is readily available out there to make their business successful. Lettings changes with the Section 24 changes impacting on landlords leaving the industry, and also the changes to the lettings fees that are going to be coming into place probably in effect next year, means that lettings agents are going to lose an enormous amount of revenue. That revenue has got to be recovered somehow, so the only thing that realistically that lettings agents are going to be able to do is to save time, and technology is the biggest player in us being able to save as much time as we can. It is very important that the letting agents do promote the property technology that is out there. They've really got to look at all of their systems in place at the moment and find something as good as Goodlord has been for us. I can't recommend it enough. It really has got to be at the core of your lettings business. You've got to differentiate yourself with the competition of what gives the landlord added value, but also to your tenants, to make sure that you can show and demonstrate to landlords that you have the best interests of them at heart by bringing them the best of tenants out there.